Tonight, blood, sweat and tear gas. Donald Trump threatens to unleash military might on his own people.
I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
As protesters and riot police clash across the US and around a presidential photo opportunity in the Capitol. Nursing jobs to go in a wave of health redundancies as the first threat of COVID subsides. And a popular flight path returns, bringing hope our billion-dollar international student industry could soon resume.
This is 10 News First Adelaide with Rebecca Morse.
Good evening. As we go to air, there are troops on the streets of Washington after President Trump vowed to crush rioting with the full force of the military if necessary. Eamon Ashton Atkinson is in the US Capitol tonight.
The mighty US Capitol is in chaos. A city that was forged in a revolution is now gripped with frustration, fear and fury. And it's all happening so close to the White House, President Trump could hear the screams and smell the tear gas.
My fellow Americans, my first and highest duty as president is to defend our great country and the American people.
He finally emerged from his bunker, not to calm the masses, but to crush them.
Our nation has been gripped by professional anarchists, violent mobs, arsonists, looters, criminals, rioters, Antifa, and others. These are acts of domestic terror. The destruction of innocent life and the spilling of innocent blood is an offense to humanity and a crime against God.
For many here, it felt like a declaration of war on his own citizens, made real when he ordered the military onto the streets.
I am mobilizing all available federal resources, civilian and military, to stop the rioting and looting, to end the destruction and arson, and to protect the rights of law-abiding Americans, including your Second Amendment rights.
That, as terrifying as it might sound to many Australians, is the right to bear arms.
There is not enough words that he can spit out of his stupid mouth that will make this okay.
And do you think that's going to calm things?
Nah, he's just going to get everybody more riled up. We already got a reason. He's just giving us another one, to be honest.
So he imposed a dinner-time curfew, giving these protesters just minutes to get indoors or else.
As we speak, I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers to stop the rioting, looting, vandalism, assaults, and the wanton destruction of property.
So now a second group of several thousand protesters have begun marching in on this point. They've been yelling, "No peace, no justice, hands up, don't shoot."
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
The president then walked across the road, surrounded by Secret Service agents, to St John's Church that's been damaged by the rioters.
We have a great country. That's my thoughts.
I just saw Donald Trump literally walk 200 metres that way. There were reporters running as he walked towards the front of the White House, just hundreds of metres from protesters.
He doesn't care. Honest, he doesn't care. That's all I gotta say.
You're obviously very emotional.
Yes, because everything that's going on in this country, to us black people, is not fair.
We have the greatest country in the world. Thank you very much, everybody.
It's worth noting, just a short walk from here in 1963, Martin Luther King delivered the most famous civil rights speech of all.
I have a dream.
And it's never resonated more than right now.
We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality.
Almost 60 years later, this nightmare is only getting worse by the day.
Our country always wins.
So tonight, the land of the free is in part under military curfew, and the home of the brave has a president under siege in the White House.
Eamon joins us live now. What's the latest from Washington?
Well, Beck, it's 3:30 in the morning here outside the White House, and you can see it's fairly quiet, not a protester in sight, and they've begun reinforcing the fence down there. But there have been some moments of significance today in DC. Tonight, they have been flying Black Hawk helicopters low over protesters, and this is a tactic that you would expect to see in the Middle East, not here in the nation's capital in America. And second, right in this very spot, as we saw in the package, peaceful protesters tear-gassed to clear a path for the president so he could walk down the street here and pose for a photo opportunity in front of this church. And now tonight, several groups of Trump's own citizens are living under the fear that they will be, quote, dominated by the military, the very institution that is supposed to protect them. Beck?
Thank you, Eamon. Take care. Meantime, the death of George Floyd, which sparked the mass riots, has been declared a homicide. A post-mortem examination was carried out, revealing he suffered cardiac arrest while being arrested in Minneapolis. The report by the medical examiner officially listed the excessive force used by police as a cause of death. A private examination was also carried out by the Floyd family, which indicated he died from a lack of oxygen due to a compression on his neck. Outside Washington, violence and chaos flared for a seventh straight night in dozens of major American cities. Thousands of protesters defied a curfew in New York, while in Minneapolis, George Floyd's brother visited the site of his death.
Terrence Floyd brought flowers and prayers to the spot his brother's life was taken. His loss still raw and his anger obvious.
What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all doing nothing, because that's not going to bring my brother back at all.
With cities across the US burned and fire still raging in the hearts of many, he spoke directly to the rioters.
Y'all protest, y'all destroy stuff, and if they don't move, you know why they don't move? Because it's not their stuff, it's our stuff.
But his words fell on deaf ears in New York. Despite a curfew, shops and department stores were looted for another night. This is one of the protests in Los Angeles today, smack bang in the middle of Hollywood. As you can see, hundreds of people have turned out for this one. Curfew is in about 45 minutes' time, but these people want to see changes, and they want to see them quickly.
Black lives, they matter here! Black lives, they matter here!
Anger raw in a city that struggled with its own race issues.
Who do we call when we're sitting at home, minding our business, and we get shot?
Frustration with a seemingly never-changing environment on show.
If we have to riot, then we will riot, because we will make changes. We are tired.
Their request?
Simple. Acknowledgement, equality. It's a simple request. Treat us like you guys treat everybody else.
Amid the anger and the violence, a determination to make things better. This Los Angeles commander taking a knee in solidarity.
We stand together!
An act seen across the country.
I don't want us to fear for our lives every time we just walk out the door.
Under the gaze of the National Guard, Santa Monica locals took up brushes and brooms to clean up what was made with bricks and flames.
Me and my friend just came and we painted, this is like our fifth wall that we painted around the city.
We're here today to be a part of the solution.
Something this divided nation desperately needs. Duncan McKenzie-McCarg for 10 News First, Los Angeles.
The dedication of our nurses during the COVID-19 crisis hasn't spared them from looming redundancies at two of Adelaide's major hospitals. The Health Minister insists they're all voluntary and won't threaten the state's capacity to deal with a second wave.
Nurses have been applauded for their critical role in combating coronavirus.
Nurses are the heroes in South Australia. They've been on the front line.
But now their jobs are on the line.
This really is a slap in the face for the nursing and midwifery profession.
The Central Adelaide Local Health Network, which includes the Royal Adelaide and Queen Elizabeth, has restarted redundancies. The voluntary separation program was put on hold in March because of COVID-19.
The health experts continue to tell us that any day we could expect an outbreak. Why, on the one hand, would you pursue redundancies of frontline workforce when you don't know when that will happen?
There will be no expressions of interest considered
from people who are involved in the COVID response or could be involved in the COVID response.
It's understood 395 staff have applied for a voluntary separation package since last year, 150 of them nurses. The union claims the positions are in surgical wards, theatres and possibly even intensive care units. They won't be replaced.
There are two options to this. Either people who are remaining will be told to work harder, or there would simply have to be bed cuts. None of that has been discussed or disclosed.
There are nurses involved in all sorts of roles, administrative and otherwise. It's a matter for the local health networks to manage their positions.
The deadline's June 30, end of financial year, but the Health Minister says there won't be forced redundancies. Chloe Boris for 10 News First.
Grassroots sporting associations fear their future is at risk despite the latest easing of restrictions. Some codes are now seeking urgent clarification from the rule makers.
Rules can be so confusing. Netball's in a rare situation where the easing of restrictions has actually added more constraints.
It's been frustrating to restart netball and have everybody out playing and training. It was just awesome to see everybody out here doing that, and unfortunately this week we've had to cancel training.
Under Phase 1, Priceline Stadium had 10 players training per court, allowing a total of 260 at the netball complex. Stage 2, starting yesterday, upped the number to 20 per court, but at the same time capped all venues, indoor or outdoor, at the magic number of 80. Netball SA says if the issue's not rectified, it could damage the game.
This is a significant risk to our sport. If they don't get a season away this year, then their habits could change and they may not return to netball.
The Premier says the umpire's working on it.
Now we do have the 80-person limit. I think it will only be a matter of days until that is all clarified.
It's one of a host of issues making the rule makers appear out of step with various sectors, like dance studios, which want classes increased to 20 to remain viable.
And it's under consideration at the moment.
Issues for the government's transition committee when it meets tonight. The Premier also has high hopes as Singapore Airlines announced it's resuming limited passenger flights into Adelaide from next week. He says it creates an opportunity, while still some time away, to get the lucrative international student sector off the ground again, luring back hundreds of Singapore nationals enrolled here.
They would be very much controlled, so they would have to come back in and do 2 weeks of supervised quarantine. The international student market is now worth more to South Australia than wheat, barley or wine.
Brett Clappis for 10 News First.
Zoos SA has announced both the Adelaide Zoo and Monarto Safari Park won't be opening for at least another month. Under the current restrictions, only 80 people would be allowed through the gates at a time, which Zoos SA says isn't financially viable. So the gates will stay closed at both zoos until at least the 3rd of July, when the next round of restrictions is eased. Police say a fire at an Elizabeth unit this morning was deliberately lit. Officers first on scene helped rescue a neighbour woken by the smoke.
Police are now heading this investigation into the fire here on Ashfield Road. After hours sifting through the remains, Fire Corps investigators have established that this blaze was lit in the lounge room of a top floor unit, although when they arrived, no one was home. It was around 7:30 a.m. when smoke was seen billowing from the roof. A number of people began evacuating, fearing the fire would spread. Police officers first on scene helped rescue neighbour Jamie and her 2 kittens. She was treated at the scene for smoke inhalation.
I woke up this morning and there was smoke everywhere. I didn't know where it was coming from, and I went to go to the front door and all this smoke coming.
SAPOL have done a great job of going in, assisting her, getting her out, risking their lives to help her.
Neighbours say the resident comes and goes, but they don't believe he was home last night. Damage has been estimated at $80,000.
Thank you, Caroline. Will's here with a look ahead to sport. The Players Association's talking tough again.
Yeah, there's another standoff looming with the players, Beck, who want to see the league's books before agreeing to any more cuts. That's ahead. Also, a couple of crows come off worse for wear after another taxing session. And 10 News First go one-on-one with United Power Brokers, who are in no rush to name a new coach. It's all coming up, Beck.
Catch a bit later on. Thank you, Will. Still to come, a world united for a deeply divided America. A new lease on life across Europe after months in lockdown.
And later, a bizarre sight captured in a Macca's drive-through.
Over the years, we have had some pretty amazing desserts. None of them have been quite as unusual as the dessert that you're about to taste.
The MasterChef kitchen has never seen a dessert quite like this.
The main ingredient is actually...
What's inside?
What?
Will blow your mind.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Pretty amazing, huh?
The strangest ever dessert challenge, tonight on 10.
Harvey Norman has everything you need for your home, including the very best of Australian-made bedding. Make your statement with gorgeous Australian-made timber and fabric beds and customise the fabric, colour and timber stain to suit your style. Our huge range features the best names in Australian-made mattresses and ensembles. Sealy, Sleepmaker, Beautyrest, King Coil and Body Balance. Complete your sleep experience with beautiful Australian-made Manchester. All this, plus 60 months interest-free. Shop in our spacious stores, support local manufacturers and choose Australian-made. Now at Harvey Norman.
The stylish Haval H2, a globally engineered, European-designed and feature-packed SUV. From just $22,990 drive away, Haval H2 Auto. New car thinking.
Chloe and Zoe are twins and Amy customers, so you have the same taste.
We love our HD, LED, LCD, 4K, Pixel TVs. Oh, and Barney and Rubble love the dog channel.
Do you choose to save now or later on your insurance?
Later.
Buy a home or car insurance policy and Amy Flexi Premiums lets you vary your excess to save now or later. Choose a higher excess to save now or choose a lower excess to save at claim time.
You're with Amy.
I was on the servo and I saw in the CCTV screen this balding bloke with the same jacket as me. But when I turned around, there was nobody there. And that was it.
Reached your turning point? The doctors at Ashley and Martin could help regrow your hair.
Hi, mate.
Hey, Dad.
How's the new place?
Yeah, it's really good.
What have you been up to?
Not much. No, I miss you guys. Can you believe it? I actually miss your cooking too.
I don't miss a thing. I got the new Woolies Rewards app.
Now you'll never miss an offer with everything in one place. Track your points, view your Woolworths e-receipts, and you can access your personalised offers so you save even more.
I do miss you, mate.
It's the brand new way to get your Woolies worth.
That's why I pick Woolies.
If you're married to someone like this, there's only one thing to do.
Emily Butler, author of soon-to-be bestseller, My Husband.
Wow, that's definitely Greg.
It's got to be this one.
You're right. Print it.
How to Stay Married, tonight.
Tonight, on a special edition of The Project, we bring you the latest from America as the country burns through its 7th night of civil unrest.
And as the US riots over the death of George Floyd, we shine a light on our own sad history of deaths in custody.
Plus, a look back at the powerful speeches that have defined the struggle for equality for all Australians.
All that and more coming up tonight at 6:30 on The Project. We'll see you then.
Across Europe, there have been more demonstrations in solidarity with those in America. Protesters in Paris knelt in silence outside the US Embassy, while in Amsterdam, thousands chanted, "I can't breathe," some of George Floyd's final words as he was being choked by police.
Because it's one person has died, but everybody is feeling the pain. All over the world have watching this, what happened with the black woman.
Around 5,000 people also marched through Dublin in support of Black Lives Matter. Finally, some good news on the virus front, as 2 million vulnerable Brits have been allowed to leave their homes for the first time in months. And several European countries are now recording their lowest death tolls since March. Phoebe Bowden reports from London.
The tide is turning in Spain. Not one person lost their life to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. That hasn't happened since March. The nation's death toll is 27,000. After one of the world's strictest lockdowns, Spaniards are soaking up the sun.
We're enjoying it again and we can see each other again at the office.
Across Europe, it finally feels like a new chapter. In Italy, once the globe's worst impacted nation, the Colosseum reopened to visitors overnight. Greece announced it's back to business for hotels, and Istanbul's historic Grand Bazaar reopened too.
It's weird. It's very exciting, actually.
Right across Europe, there's optimism that the worst is over as people find new ways to do normal, including watching a game of football.
This is nice, so we can come here and support the team.
In the UK, 2 million of the most vulnerable people who were ordered to stay inside and not leave the house are now allowed out for the first time in more than 2 months. Schools are returning in Britain too, relief for parents and students alike.
Because you're all cooped up together, it's just really hard to stay away and from each other and then staying in the same house.
Their newfound freedoms all the more special, with no guarantees a second wave of coronavirus won't force them back home again. Phoebe Bowden for 10 News First London.
The South Australian Museum is preparing to reopen its doors, and Kate Freeman, tonight you've got the place to yourself.
Beck, museums are always a very quiet place, but the South Australian Museum has never been as quiet as it's been over the last 2 months. The doors have been closed for more than 8 weeks, but finally they're preparing to reopen on a Monday. So if you're looking for things to do with the family over the long weekend, you can add this to your list. The must-see at the moment is all about dogs. The exhibition's called The Story of Our Best Friend, and because it was cut short by COVID, they've extended it until early August. And the McMahon collection of Indigenous work will also be around for longer, until the end of July, so there's plenty to see.
We've really missed our visitors, so it means that they can come and spend time with us, they can come and walk around the galleries, they can come to the cafe and the shop, and it really provides them with something they can do over the public holiday, which actually they haven't been able to do for a few weeks now. So we're looking forward to it, and we hope that people will be looking forward to it as well.
Well, taking a look at the weather, there is a slight chance of a shower around Adelaide tonight, but tomorrow it should be dry and partly cloudy, but cool. We're heading for a top of 16 degrees. And back here in the foyer of the South Australian Museum, they've got a huge collection of whale skeletons. We've got some great news for whale watchers coming up in our full weather report shortly. I'll catch you then.
Thank you, Kate. Consumer confidence grows despite our economic slump. Your finance news is next. A royal thank you for our tireless first responders. And still to come, how a villain of the sea could be a saviour for diabetics.
It's the strangest dessert ever seen in the MasterChef kitchen.
The main ingredient is actually...
What's inside will blow your mind.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
The strangest ever dessert challenge on 10.
It continues 7:30 tonight.
We're Lumo Energy SA. We're 100% Australian owned, and we're 1000% here for you, South Australia, so you can live life with confidence, knowing your energy is in good hands. South Australia, we're here for you.
When did life start to move this quickly? Somehow we made it to 6:30 p.m. with no real idea where our 9-to-5s went. Isn't it time to rethink our approach and explore solutions that stretch beyond the medicine cabinet? See, at Panadol, we're making it our mission to help more Australians focus on staying well. Sure, it's a big conversation to have, but now's the time to start. Together, let's rethink care.
Introducing Jumpstart by Light and Easy, the simple program that will help fast-track your weight loss success, improve your health, and have your taste buds jumping for joy. Jumpstart your weight loss and health goals today with Light and Easy.
Bring warmth and beauty into your home during our huge seasonal sale. All handmade Persian, Afghan and Turkish rugs 30 to 50% off. Indian and Chinese pieces 40 to 70% off for a limited time only. Visit our gallery at Kent Town.
Prime Liquidators long weekend sale this Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. New stock has just arrived. We've ordered too much and everything is massively reduced to clear. Barley huts from a crazy $695. Daybeds all reduced. Solid teak furniture, amazing prices. Bamboo settings from $495. Statues and water features all reduced. Knickknacks from just $5. It's all reduced. Don't miss out. Prime Liquidators long weekend sale. This long weekend only.
Jump, lift, skip, step, clean, tone, spin, sprint, slam, pan, battle roll, jump, joust, scuba, swim, surf, 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 boost, bike, balance board, kick, flip, dog, dive.
Get back to the game you love with Drummond Golf. Get 10 to 30% off balls, 10 to 20% off drivers, fairways and hybrids, 10 to 20% off shoes, and a minimum 10% off all measuring devices. Now on at Drummond Golf.
At My Budget, we help people do better with their money, just like Alyssa and Pete.
The biggest thing since joining My Budget is that we've eliminated almost all of our debt, and we can put that money that we were paying off credit cards and loans to something that's much more interesting, like things for the family. And honestly, we have My Budget to thank for that.
Live your life free from money worries. Call My Budget today.
With Belong, you get 10 gigs of mobile data for $25 a month. That's 10 gigs of family time, plus unlimited international calls and texts to selected countries for $5 extra. Together, we're different. Belong.
The joy of pregnancy stripped away. Imagine feeling allergic to your own baby. The nightmare illness with terrifying risks, what you need to know.
Plus, he sold 30 million albums.
I'm trying very hard.
But behind the hits, Josh Groban is waging a private battle. Tomorrow on Studio 10.
Hello there. Coronavirus restrictions have delivered a massive boom in online shopping and perhaps a source for the COVID kilos. Figures for April show takeaway food purchases were up nearly 200% compared to last year and up 26% on March. Overall, online sales recorded their highest ever monthly growth rate. The annual increase also broke records for the NAB series. And consumers are continuing to feel better about the economy and their personal finances. Confidence is up 6% this week. It's the 9th straight week of gains, and that's unprecedented. And we'll find out tomorrow how the economy is actually going when the first quarter GDP figures are released. A range of economists updated their forecast today on the back of fresh Bureau of Statistics data. Now, there's been a slight improvement, but they're still predicting the economy will shrink by between 0.1 and 0.4%. Now, this afternoon, the Reserve Bank Governor revealed it's possible the COVID-19 downturn may not be as bad as first feared. The RBA also kept interest rates on hold at 0.25%. So the share market rallied, closing up almost 16 points. Woolworths staff, the ones getting shares and store credit as a thank you from the company for their hard work during the pandemic. The dollar is hovering around 68 US cents after hitting 4-month highs earlier today. And that's finance.
The inaugural Thank a First Responder Day has been held across the country. The new dedicated day, created after bushfires and the pandemic, have posed extreme challenges for Australians working on the front line.
We've been living through challenges beyond our memory. The summer bushfires morphing into our season of plague. Today, our first responders were encouraged to take a moment for themselves and to hear from some powerful admirers.
Time and time again, when Australia has needed protecting, you have answered that call.
For Australia's first ever Thank a First Responder Day, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were gushing in their praise.
Today, on Australia's inaugural Thank a First Responder Day, you all deserve our huge thanks.
You should be immensely proud of everything you do, and we send our very best wishes to you all.
So many Australians have been really, supportive of emergency services over the last 6 months, which has been really fantastic. But it's just great to see some recognition from, from the royal family and from people overseas. It's quite heartening.
I think it's really nice to see the royal family coming on and having a chat to the first responders and showing their support. Really like it.
For Stuart Krelsham, it all brings back memories of fighting to save the border town of Malakuta as huge firestorms bore down.
There's something really weird about having the ocean at your back and nowhere to go. It's about that staying calm and staying composed and really just going back to your training.
While many of us see these first responders as the best of us, today reminds us it's okay to stop and say thanks. Not that they say they're looking for it.
We just love helping people. It's the best job in the world.
Hugh Riminton for 10 News First.
A female driver accused of a foul act against police officers patrolling our border faces court. That story's next. Plus, a minister's emotional display in Parliament over the disturbing death of Anne Smith. And a four-car smash brings chaos to the morning commute at Monbury.
It's the strangest dessert ever seen in the MasterChef kitchen.
The main ingredient is actually...
What's inside will blow your mind.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
The strangest ever dessert challenge tonight on 10.
Get into The Good Guys and get hot buys on fridges and laundry. This LG fridge only $988. This hire washer only $395. This chest freezer only $395. Plus this salt dryer only $298. See more in our catalogue only at The Good Guys.
The biggest thing since joining my budget is that we've eliminated almost all of our debt. And honestly, we have my budget to thank for that.
Call my budget now for your free consultation.
While we're all having nights in, make yours a big night in. Because this year you could win up to $8,000 worth of prizes from a huge range. Woolworths Big Night In. There's a new winner every day.
Well, so far 2020's been a challenge. So this year, we've introduced some new options for Dry July. We're calling it Dry-ish July. To help raise funds for cancer patients, you can be a fortnight Frankie, a 3-week Wendell, or a fully dry dye. Old school. Go as dry as you're willing to try to help people affected by cancer. Sign up today at dryjuly.com.
This is how we move it.
Relax. Let go of your worries with a perfect stress-free move guaranteed only with Complete Removals. Call now or visit CompleteRemovals.com.au.
This is how we move it.
There are two ways to choose a new SUV. Old thinking, buy what you've always bought. New thinking, buy one on merit like the Havel H2. Old, pay a lot more for premium features. New, 7-year warranty, panoramic sunroof, Apple CarPlay and more for your money. Old, low price means less quality. New, German engineering, Swedish safety tech and European design. Havel H2 Auto, new car thinking from $22,990. Test drive today at Adelaide City Havel.
Swagger.
Steve?
Domino's is bringing New York to your living room with the new tastier New Yorker range. Now with even more authentic ingredients, like huge pepperoni on a giant-sized New York pizza. Try one from just $19.95 delivered from Domino's.
With Allianz Comprehensive Car Insurance, we guarantee all the repairs we authorise.
Hey, good to go.
Looks great. Thanks.
Get that Allianz feeling. Call or search for a quote today.
HelloFresh. Delicious meals delivered to your door with pre-portioned fresh ingredients. Now you can focus on what's really important. Order your box today. HelloFresh. Inspiration delivered.
If you're married to someone like this, there's only one thing to do.
It's got to be this one.
Print it. How to Stay Married tonight.
This is Adelaide's 10 News First, tonight's headlines. Donald Trump threatens the might of the military against his own citizens as police use tear gas on peaceful protesters to clear a path for his presidential photo op outside a damaged church in Washington, D.C. Nursing jobs to go at the RAH and Queen Elizabeth as the government resumes the round of redundancies it suspended when the virus struck. And hopes the resumption of direct Singapore Airlines flights to Adelaide will soon open the door for the return of fee-paying foreign students. The Human Services Minister has choked back tears in Parliament. She defended her response to the shocking death of Anne Smith. The state government says it's satisfied the task force commissioned to investigate will find answers.
Michelle Lensink is the minister responsible for state disability services. Today she found herself targeted in Parliament over her response to the death of 54-year-old Anne Smith, a woman living with cerebral palsy. Her name familiar now for all the wrong reasons.
She should have been visiting friends or libraries or local cafes, leading a life we all take for granted.
The state government has appointed a task force to report back within a fortnight on how the system failed Ms Smith, whose carer didn't have a clearance to work with vulnerable people. The 12-person task force met via web conference for the first time last week. The minister was unable to spell out the terms of reference, explaining they'd been determined by the members themselves.
This is not a time to hastily force upon people with disabilities solutions that will unintentionally erode their rights.
The Premier, too, asked to explain whether he knew where the inquiry was going.
How could the Premier establish a task force, set a deadline for the task force, without reviewing the terms of reference for the task force and know whether or not the task force even has those terms of reference?
He explained the intention was to allow broad latitude for the members of the task force.
And quite frankly, they want to get to the bottom of a sickening case in South Australia. They don't want to play politics. Order. They want to get answers.
At least 5 inquiries are underway, including a criminal investigation by police. Alan Murrell for 10 News First.
A woman accused of coughing on police breaching COVID state border restrictions has been granted bail. Wendy Anderson is charged with multiple offences after she allegedly refused to stop at the SA New South Wales border before leading police on a chase in March. The 52-year-old's then accused of intentionally coughing on officers during her arrest. Anderson will return to court in August. 3 people had to be taken to hospital after a 4-car smash on McIntyre Road at Modbury this morning. 2 of the cars were quickly cleared from the scene and paramedics checked over 10 people involved. And dashcam captured the moment a ute slammed into a Stobie pole on Tapley's Hill Road at Fulham Gardens early this morning. The crash happened around 6:30 a.m. The man behind the wheel was rushed to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The cattle industry has won a landmark case after the federal court ruled a government ban on live exports in 2011 was invalid. For one woman at the heart of the battle, today's win was bittersweet.
From their cattle station in the top end, Emily Brett's family spearheaded the industry's beef with the Commonwealth in the federal court, fighting on even after her husband Dougal died in a chopper crash.
I can hear him saying to me, "Don't give up, don't give up, you've got this, keep going."
And today, they won.
We suffered immense financial hardship because of this. So much stress. It was overwhelming at times.
It's been 9 years since the then Labor government banned live cattle exports to Indonesia after shocking animal cruelty was exposed.
That incident could have been and should have been addressed in isolation without the reckless banning of an industry and the devastation of an industry.
After 18 months deliberating, Justice Stephen Reris ruled the 6-month ban was reckless and invalid.
Such a total prohibition was capricious and unreasonable and made the ban order invalid.
He was scathing of the then Agriculture Minister Joe Ludwig.
Made the ban order shutting his eyes to the risk that it might be invalid and to the damage that was calculated to cause.
This ruling opens the door to the industry seeking hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation. The court found more than 412,000 cattle could have been exported properly if instead of a ban order, the minister had put in place an order with an exceptions power.
Today righted a wrong.
Emily is proud her children saw her fight, if only their dad was here too.
All I want in this moment is to share this day with him.
Ali Donaldson for 10 News First.
The federal government is refusing to answer questions about a committee handpicked by Scott Morrison to advise him on the economy in the wake of COVID-19. A former mining executive is chairing the board. Payments are going into his personal trust to the tune of nearly $400,000 for 6 months' work.
In any situation where we're expending public money, there needs to be a process to make sure that we're getting value for money. However, there needs to be a degree of openness and transparency. The government has failed to answer questions that are reasonable questions to be asked.
The committee of 6 are earning more than $900,000 between them. For the first time in 30 years, police in Hong Kong have banned a vigil for the victims of China's 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. Authorities claim the ruling is needed to enforce social distancing and prevent the spread of coronavirus, but it comes less than a week after the Chinese Communist Party announced new national security laws for the former British colony. More than 100,000 people attended the vigil last year, which has been held every year since 1990. Bill's back with sport. A Crows great has criticised the club.
Yeah, this is just extraordinary, Beck. Two-time Norm Smith medalist Andrew McLeod doesn't feel welcome at Westlakes. We'll hear from him next. Also, Rory Atkins relishing a freeze on contract negotiations. And the Dolphin goes deep to make a diving catch.
Are we closer in closing the gap faced by Indigenous Australians?
If you're married to someone like this, there's only one thing to do.
Emily Butler, author of soon-to-be bestseller, My Husband.
Wow, that's definitely Greg.
It's got to be this one.
You're right. Print it.
How to Stay Married, tonight.
All right, Australia, so you need more energy and a better night's sleep. Meet the revolutionary Sleeping Duck mattress taking Australia by storm. It's the next generation mattress reimagined by aerospace engineers to give you the best energy, health and sleep benefits possible, even making history by becoming the first mattress ever to win Choice's Best Overall Mattress 2 years in a row. It comes manufacturer direct, free of markup. And that means you can get incredible quality with incredible value. That's Sleeping Duck, one giant leap for your sleep.
We're all in this together. Your family and mine, working side by side.
Let's be kind and support each other.
Your local South Aussie businesses need you.
By supporting SA businesses, you're supporting SA families.
Choose local to help support local jobs.
Your choices keep South Aussie businesses going strong.
From our family to yours, let's look after this great state of ours.
Show your support for local brands by shopping for them at Drake's, your South Aussie family-owned supermarket.
We all really appreciate your support.
We miss you. Come for dinner. We're getting Hungry Jack's delivered.
Feed the family. Get Hungry Jack's Flame Grilled Whoppers delivered now on Uber Eats or Menu Log. Hungry Jack's Delivery. The burgers are better.
The Amazon mid-year sale is live now. Time to get great deals on electronics, fashion, homewares and more. Shop amazon.com.au. Easy as.
We're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
Even the harshest places in Australia have these beautiful natural surfaces. It's just incredible to photograph. It's the same with Colorbond steel mat, strong, enduring yet subtle in its beauty.
Creating the ultimate memories sometimes means creating the toughest stains. Improved Omo Ultimate is Omo's most powerful laundry liquid. It attacks your tough stains first time and whitens and brightens. Try Omo Ultimate.
The main ingredient is actually... What?
It's the strangest dessert ever seen in the MasterChef kitchen.
Good evening. In a regular season, Rory Atkins would likely be in the middle of a contract renegotiation. But players' re-signings are currently frozen by the AFL. Even though he doesn't have his future secured, the winger has actually enjoyed not having to think about it.
Making up for lost time, the Crows aren't leaving anything in the tank. The competitive spirit was infectious. Tom Doedee and Ben Davis needed treatment after clashing heads. Fisher Mackesy was taking one-on-one advice from the coach, and Lockie Murphy went head-to-head with a bloke nearly a foot taller than him. For players out of contract this year, all negotiations have been put on hold until finances are settled, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
That's actually a good way to put it. So at the minute, if it was a normal season, I know that a contract could be done, but now it can't. So you know that the only possible thing that you can do to better yourself is play footy.
Atkins is looking on the bright side in other areas as well. No crowds for the round 2 showdown. It could be worse.
It is a bit comforting not hearing 50,000 people call me shit when I miss a kick. So.
As for the Gold Coast move in a fortnight, Atkins thinks reports of players making requests to the AFL for things like coffee machines and PlayStations to be provided are a bit overblown.
Anyone who wants them up there, they'll take their own stuff. So I reckon if they want it up there, they've got it at home so they can take it.
For Stephen Motlop, a guitar might be his only excess luggage.
I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her, holding on.
I'd probably love to have my family there. That'd help a little bit, but if the guys can get out, maybe a bit of golf would be all right.
Max Burford for 10 News First.
A disheartening revelation from one of Adelaide's greatest ever players. Speaking on his podcast, Games record holder and 2-time Norm Smith medalist Andrew McLeod says he doesn't feel welcome walking back into the club.
If you ask me if I felt comfortable walking back into the football club, I'd say no. You see lots of guys go back to their footy clubs and they feel welcome. For me, the Crows doesn't really have that vibe. It's not a place that you sort of feel like it embraces you as a past player.
McLeod has spent time at the club in recent years assisting with the AFLW program. The AFL's been told to open the books if it wants to broker a new pay deal with the players. Rob Waters has the latest on negotiations.
Good evening. Well, the AFL Players Association are taking an early stand in what's expected to be a lively renegotiation of their collective bargaining agreement. Now, the players took a 50% pay cut in March, and it's there that they agreed to review what happens in the next couple of years. Everyone in the AFL expects the salary cap to come down. Peter Gordon, the Bulldogs president, mentioned that the players might have to take cuts north of 20% next year and beyond. Well, today the Players Association Chief Executive hit back at that. He says the AFL needs to open its books. There's got to be transparency before they'll agree to anything. So let's listen to the comments of Paul Marsh.
Under our deal, the AFL would need to have a hit, or the industry would need to have a hit of a significant amount over 2 consecutive years. Well, like list sizes is one that we haven't yet seen a compelling case for change.
Those comments have surprised the AFL and many in clubland. No one expects there won't be large hits to the AFL economy in the game moving forward. I mean, already the hundreds of millions of dollars has been lost. But this is a very important deal for both the players, the clubs and the AFL, and it's very much a case of watch this space.
Essendon forward Sean McKernan is ready to stand tall in the absence of injured pair Joe Danaher and Orazio Fantasia.
Obviously, Joe's been in and out for the last couple of years, and at times I've had to take on that role, but it's something that I welcome and something I get excited by.
The Bombers head to Sydney to face the Swans in round 2, who are without Lance Franklin and Sam Reid. John Kennedy's influence on football is legendary, and now it's official, with the Hawthorn Premiership coach elevated to legend status. The accolade a special moment for his grandson and Swans co-captain Josh.
It was extremely special and a proud moment for the family as a whole. I know that Nuno John Senior would be tremendously proud, albeit may not acknowledge it as much as what he feels.
Courageous Saint Lenny Hayes was the latest inductee into the Australian Football Hall of Fame. Adelaide United will appoint assistant Carl Viet as an interim coach for the remainder of the A-League season. 10 News First understands the Reds won't name a full-time coach before the end of August due to uncertainty surrounding the future of the league.
A coaches' meeting without a head coach. Today, Adelaide United mapped out its return with Carl Viet, the man to take the reins for the remainder of the campaign.
He's got a lot of experience. He knows, the way he wants to play, and it's exciting for the club and for himself to, be given that opportunity.
The Reds will hold off naming a full-time head coach until they know when the 2020-21 campaign will begin and how much money they'll have to spend. United hope to return to training on June 15, but are waiting for the go-ahead from broadcasters, whose pay dispute with the FFA is holding up a return to play.
We've got a couple of weeks, hopefully, to prepare. That's kind of the aim at the moment. We're like I said, we're planning and preparing, so we're ready to go.
It's been a baptism of fire for first-time goalkeeping coach Eugene Galekovic, with the club great stood down without pay. Still, the former shot stopper has been keeping in touch with the club's keepers.
Just to keep an eye on them still a little bit and show you kind of care, and they're doing all right, and hopefully we'll be back soon training, and hopefully they're keeping fit, so it won't be too hard on them.
Michael Marais is unlikely to return for the proposed hub next month, but the Reds will retain the majority of their squad, an advantage according to Galekovic.
Most of our boys are prepared, and even the young ones that have to kind of come through the youth system and be in the hub as well. They're at a good quality, as you saw during the season.
Josh Money for 10 News First.
And while Cologne didn't collect a point on the night, it did create a cracking highlight of its own. NFL teams needing a wide receiver look no further. We've found you a deep threat. This Dolphin thrives in wet conditions, and better yet, doesn't need a perfect spiral pass to make the catch. We're pretty sure a salary of seafood would suffice. I'll tell you what, imagine the marketing if this mammal went to the Miami Dolphins. Regardless, this fantastic diving grab gets our play of the day. We're at the point now, Beck, of course, we've run out of humans doing sports things. We're on to fish. And it'll be birds next week. Not quite sure. Sports all week.
Later on, thank you, Will. More cool weather is on the way. Kate Freeman has the details for you next. And how a snail could hold the key to developing more effective insulin. And stay with us, your chance to win free groceries for a year is coming up after 6.
To join the conversation about any of tonight's stories, or maybe even share your own play of the day, head to Adelaide's 10 News First on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram.
Are we closer in closing the gap faced by Indigenous Australians?
It's the strangest dessert ever seen in the MasterChef kitchen.
The main ingredient is actually...
What's inside will blow your mind.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
The strangest ever dessert challenge, tonight on 10.
Enhance your home with blinds from Dynamic Home Enhancements. Dynamic offer the ultimate blind solution for any outdoor area. Call Dynamic today and get 33% off your blinds. Plus, free installation. Plus, get no deposit, interest-free finance. And seniors get an extra 10% off. Call Dynamic now to enhance your home, add value, and save on your blinds.
Dynamic Home Enhancements. Which delicious new Arnott's Cracker Chips flavour will you try first? Hickory ribs with sticky glaze or mozzarella and basil bruschetta? Arnott's Cracker Chips, oven roasted, never fried.
With Belong, you get 10 gigs of mobile data for $25 a month. That's 10 gigs of family time, plus unlimited international calls and texts to selected countries for $5 extra. Together, we're different. Belong.
There you go, Swagger.
Steve?
Domino's is bringing New York to your living room with the new tastier New Yorker range, now with even more authentic ingredients, like huge pepperoni on a giant-sized New York pizza. Try one from just $19.95 delivered from Domino's.
Great Wall end of financial year value is now on. Get a brand new petrol dual cab or diesel single cab with a free tray and a 5-year warranty from only $19,990. That's right, from just $19,990 drive away. Great Wall, it's built to work.
At Apia, we're all about possibilities and making sure you're ready for them. And while not everything is possible at the moment, there are some things you can do. With Apia's comprehensive insurance, you can double up and save. Simply buy new eligible home and car insurance together before July 10 and save 20% off the second policy. Our dedicated specialists are ready to help. Call 13 50 50 or visit apia.com.au.
Tonight's weather report is brought to you by Lumo Energy SA. 100% Australian owned and 1,000% here for you.
Scientists have made an extraordinary discovery that could mean sea snails hold the key to helping better treat people with diabetes. They're studying the snail's paralysing venom to create a new type of insulin.
The humble comb snail casually slides across the ocean bed until it sees a fish.
When it strikes, the snail's pace jumps to light speed.
It injects the fish with paralysing insulin venom that works instantly.
This struck us that perhaps there are unique properties to this insulin that enable it to work very quickly and to stop the fish from swimming by.
And this is where marine biology meets medicine.
It's to take the principles of the venom insulin and to make a human look-alike, so to speak.
In other words, modelling the poison that kills the fish to make insulin that saves humans. Alex was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 10. He spent much of his teens in hospital because he mistimed his insulin injections.
I've been to the stage where I'm like, just knock me out. I don't want to. I feel really sick, I feel unwell.
A faster acting insulin may prevent those trips to emergency.
Almost 500 million people around the world have diabetes. The snail venom theory still needs to be put through clinical trials, which means it is, at best, years away from hitting the market.
Alex may be among the first to administer it. He's currently studying nursing.
My main goal is to hopefully become a diabetic educator.
Natasha Exelby for 10 News First.
Whale watchers were given a treat on Adelaide's south coast this morning. Kate Freeman joins us. Kate, what did they see?
Beck, it was a great day for whale watchers down on the south coast today because they spotted the very first southern right whales to be seen in the Encounter Bay nursery all season, and it was captured on camera. They were seen off the coast of Port Elliot, heading down towards Victor Harbour, and also off of Basham's Beach. It's the best viewing spot for whale watchers because it's where the whales come closest to shore. So if you're heading down the south coast this long weekend, it's a good sign you're in with a chance to spot them too. Another option, if you are staying here in Adelaide, is to come and see the whale skeletons here at the South Australian Museum. We've got the place to ourselves tonight. It's nice and quiet. It's been closed for the last 2 months, but on Monday morning it reopens its doors. Looking at the weather, overnight in Adelaide, our low was 11 degrees. Today we had a few very light showers. Our top was 17 degrees at 2:30 and currently it's 13 degrees in the city. Looking around the suburbs, the top was 16 degrees in Elizabeth, Glenelg and Noarlunga, 18 degrees in Murray Bridge and 13 degrees in Mount Barker. Around the state, we had very cold temperatures overnight. It got down to 1 degree in Roxby Downs. Today it got to 19 degrees in Whyalla and 18 in Coober Pedy and Port Augusta. Port Pirie reached 16 and Clare was very chilly. It only got to 12 degrees. In the south of the state, it was also a chilly night, and today there were scattered showers. Tops reached 17 degrees in Port Lincoln and Kingscote and 16 degrees in Victor Harbour, Keith and Naracoorte. Mount Gambier got to 15 degrees with the coldest weather through the Barossa, 14 degrees the top in Nooryootpa. Interstate, Melbourne had more rain, and that added to its wettest start to the year on record. It only reached 15 degrees. Canberra dropped below zero overnight and only reached 12 degrees today. It got to 21 degrees in Brisbane, 15 in Sydney, so fairly chilly there, and 20 degrees in Perth. On the satellite photo, low cloud is moving through the southern part of our state, and that brought a few light showers today. But a high is moving in, and that'll clear skies, keeping South Australia mostly dry for the next few days. But it will also see overnight temperatures plummet, sending many spots sub-zero in the coming days. Looking around the country tomorrow, it should be sunny in Brisbane, mostly sunny, becoming windy in Sydney, a chance of showers for Melbourne and another cold top of 14 degrees, and fairly warm over in Perth, a nice day for them, 23 degrees and partly cloudy. In South Australia tomorrow will be mostly dry. It should reach 19 degrees in Roxby Downs and 18 in Ceduna and Port Augusta. A top of 17 degrees for Whyalla, 15 in Maitland and 14 in Clare. The top 16 for Port Lincoln and Victor Harbour, 15 degrees in Renmark, Kingscote, Keith, Naracoorte and Mount Gambier. And again, the coldest place is the Barossa, just 13 degrees in Nooryootpa. On local waters, seas will ease to below half a metre around midday. While around the suburbs, it should reach 15 degrees in Elizabeth and Noarlunga, 16 degrees in Glenelg and out at Murray Bridge, and just 13 degrees in Mount Barker. In Adelaide, it's down to 10 degrees overnight, and tomorrow there's a chance of an early morning shower, but the day will be dry and partly cloudy, heading for a top of 16. Looking ahead, staying mostly dry over the next week, with sunshine on Thursday and Friday, tops of 15 degrees, and a partly cloudy top of 16 degrees on Saturday.
Making news this hour, Adelaide Zoo and Monarto to remain closed for at least another month. A northern suburbs man who escaped a fire in his shed yesterday tells of his life's passion destroyed. But returning to the US, where Donald Trump has today issued the threat of military action against his own citizens. More National Guard troops have been deployed across the country. Washington, DC is now the epicentre of the race riots.
A violent clear-out of what had been, at least today, a peaceful rally. This is what was happening just outside the White House gates, as inside the president addressed the nation, declaring himself
an ally of all peaceful protesters.
But warning.
We are ending the riots and lawlessness that has spread throughout our country. We will end it now.
Stun grenades, tear gas. And still 20 minutes until curfew. Even an Australian TV crew wasn't spared.
That's a photographer.
And why? So Mr. Trump could walk outside and across the road to what's known as the Church to the Presidents, recently torched for a bizarre photo op. As sirens blared in the background.
Is that your Bible?
The local bishop called it an outrage, adding Mr. Trump didn't even stop to pray.
I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers.
He called the looting and violence a total disgrace and declared if state governors don't use the National Guard to stop it,
then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
The might of the US military being turned on its own people.
No justice!
Across the country, protests raged for a seventh day. There was more looting in New York. Arrests outside the famous Radio City Music Hall.
Chill, bro.
And at one point, a policeman there pointed his gun at the crowd. In Minneapolis, George Floyd's brother, for the first time, grieved at the place where he died in police custody. He called for the violent riots to end.
If I'm not over here messing up my community, then what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all doing nothing, because that's not going to bring my brother back at all.
The official post-mortem has declared Floyd's death a homicide. He suffered a cardiac arrest while being restrained. But there are some encouraging signs of unity. The NYPD taking a knee in support of demonstrators.
That's what we want.
Elsewhere, police marched with them.
We're here with y'all.
And here in the deep south, Louisiana, an officer comforts a teenage protester, telling him, "We're all here together." Daniel Sutton for 10 News First.
Eamon Ashton Atkinson is just down the road from the White House, where violent scenes have played out all day.
Beck, it's been another extraordinary night here in the United States. Right now it's fairly quiet, as you can see, outside the White House, but there has been more violence across the country this evening. But with all that's going on, Donald Trump's critics tonight say they don't want people to overlook some lines that they say were crossed by the president today. First among them is the fact that Donald Trump has threatened to use the nation's military, the very institution that's supposed to be protecting people, against them. And we've already been seeing signs of that here in DC. Tonight there have been low-flying Black Hawk helicopters above groups of protesters. So low, in fact, they were clipping off treetops. That's a tactic normally you would see used in the Middle East, not one you would expect here in the capital of the US. And second, peaceful protesters were gassed in this very spot so the president could walk through that gate, come here and pose for a photo opportunity. This is the sobering reality of America right now. Beck?
Thank you, Eamon. A man who narrowly escaped a major fire in his shed after an explosion says he's grateful no one was hurt. He'd been restoring his beloved hot rod when the shed went up in flames, destroying the car and other precious items.
A moment of reflection, years of blood, sweat and tears taken in a flash.
I'm just glad I'm insured. It's a mess. 2 years wasted on my hot rod. But it hurts. It does hurt.
58-year-old Ian Craniford was working on his prized vintage car inside his Dean Street shed at Walkley Heights yesterday afternoon when just after 3 p.m. something went wrong.
I had to bend a piece of wire which I had to heat up a little Bunsen burner, so I lit that, rolled towards the hot rod and it just burst into flames. And half an hour prior to that I washed all the dash down with thinners.
Somehow he managed to escape as the shed went up in seconds. As well as the hot rod, the family lost countless items, including family photos, a Harley-Davidson trike and 2 electric wheelchairs purchased just 2 weeks ago. The love of cars is a family tradition.
I've had Mustangs, Chevs, every sort of car you can think of. As I build one, I get sick of it and then build another and then build another.
Despite this setback, Ian says he won't be giving up his passion anytime soon and plans to rebuild the hot rod from the ground up as soon as he can. Grateful the damage was only to property, not life.
I'm glad everybody was safe and we just start life again.
Caroline O'Day for 10 News First.
A fire that ripped through an Elizabeth unit is being treated as suspicious. The blaze broke out around 7:30 this morning on Ashfield Road, with smoke billowing from the roof of the double-storey block. The unit was not occupied, but police had to rescue a neighbour and her 2 kittens from the stairwell.
I woke up this morning and there was smoke everywhere. I didn't know where it was coming from, and I went to go to the front door and all this smoke coming.
Damage is estimated at $80,000. The Health Minister has confirmed voluntary redundancies, which were put on hold because of the pandemic, have resumed. Chloe Burris, how has the Nurses Union reacted?
Well, the union says this is a slap in the face considering how hard and how tirelessly nurses have worked during the COVID-19 crisis, especially here at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, and the system's still being readied for an influx of coronavirus patients at any given moment. So the nurses union says this is really not the right time to start the voluntary separation program back up again, but the health minister says there are 1,700 nurses on standby in the event of a second wave.
The health experts continue to tell us that any day we could expect an outbreak. Why, on the one hand, would you pursue redundancies of frontline workforce when you don't know when that will happen?
That there will be no expressions of interest considered from people who are involved in the COVID response or could be involved in the COVID response.
Now, the health minister says all redundancies will be voluntary, no one will be forced, but they also won't be replaced. The union believes we've already lost positions in surgical wards, theatres and possibly even intensive care units.
Thank you, Chloe. The gates at our zoos are set to remain shut for at least another month. Zoos SA is now waiting for more restrictions to be lifted before considering welcoming visitors again.
Still no entry at a family favourite.
I'm sad I can't go to the zoo. I miss the animals.
Zoos SA had been working through a detailed plan to reopen Adelaide Zoo and Monarto Safari Park, but still face limits of 80 people at a time.
They came back this morning with an option that they put forward to us that sadly just simply isn't feasible. It was either about splitting the zoo into different quadrants or having time-limited bookings.
Usually seeing thousands through the gates in a day, the zoos can't afford to open under the current restrictions.
I mean, our annual budget expenditure is about $25 million a year. A lot of that is obviously animal food.
It's such a shame it's been closed. The kids would have loved to go, so I believe that the animals are actually missing the human contact.
The CEO's frustrated zoos don't have the same freedom as national parks.
Yes, when you're in a place like this, I struggle to see that difference as long as you can effectively manage the entry and exit.
Zoos SA will now wait until the 3rd of July when the next round of restrictions is expected to be eased to assess whether it can open, but it has a number of factors to consider before making a call.
We haven't had time to consider that as to whether we would impose our own restrictions just from an animal welfare perspective.
When the zoo opens, I'll definitely be there.
Tiffany Warren for 10 News First.
A resumption of Singapore Airlines flights into Adelaide has prompted a discussion about getting SA's lucrative international students sector back off the ground. Singapore plans to run limited passenger services from next week. The Premier's on board.
The international student market is now worth more to South Australia than wheat, barley or wine.
He says any decision is some time away, but students would still face strict quarantine rules. Netball SA is seeking urgent clarification after restriction changes ruined its plans to get the season underway. There are fears players will now walk away from the sport.
There would otherwise be up to 260 people outside Priceline Stadium at training here in a few hours. Tonight that reduces to 0. It's been cancelled as netball works through a technicality that by easing restrictions across the state, it's been put at a disadvantage and threatens the viability of the sport going forward in South Australia. Now, under Stage 1, netball had exemptions to allow 10 per court, hence the 260 here at Mile End. Fast forward to yesterday, Stage 2, it's doubled. 20 are allowed per court, but this is counted as one venue. That means 80 as a maximum across the complex. Now, Netball SA says that is not enough to get a season underway, and worse still, could threaten seasons to come.
The risk is that if they don't get a season away this year, then their habits could change and they may not return to netball.
The Premier expects clarity on the issue within the coming days. The umpire, in this case the government's transition committee, meets tonight. It will also work through strong criticisms from dance studios. Operators are pleading to have their classes doubled to 20 so they can remain viable.
Thank you, Brett. The Queensland government has apologised to the family of a Blackwater man after tests revealed he did not have coronavirus. 30-year-old Nathan Turner died last week and initial tests were positive, forcing the central Queensland town into lockdown and 600 residents to be tested. But now the coroner has ruled he did not have the virus after all.
I would like to personally apologise to his partner and his family for any distress that our actions in responding rapidly have caused them.
For us to have that relief and to breathe easy, for Simone to be able to finally have the support she needs.
The Queensland Premier has been accused of using the case to keep the borders closed. Up next, the coaching future at Adelaide United becomes clearer, and a funding injection for Australian scientists chasing a COVID vaccine.
Civil unrest, a mishandled pandemic and economic collapse. Can Trump survive as president? More tonight on The Project.
At HCF, Australia's largest not-for-profit health fund, we know the importance of care when it counts. That's why eligible members can access our holistic mental wellbeing program with the flexibility to choose what works for you. HCF, that's uncommon care.
Guys, this has just arrived. Beautiful garment. There's a big stain on it. Trust pink, forget hot, half a scoop, cold water from Vanish. I think this is going to be a bit of a challenge. I'm up for it. Pop it in the tub, cold water, give it a little bit of a rub. Blows my mind that it is this easy. How beautiful is this blouse? And look, no stain.
For amazing results, just cold wash with Vanish Oxy Action.
Thanks to Light and Easy, Australians of all ages can enjoy their choice of delicious, nutritious meals in the comfort and safety of their own home. Especially those at a greater health risk during these times. If you or someone close to you could benefit by having Light and Easy meals delivered safely with our contactless delivery service, visit lightandeasy.com.au or call us on 13 15 12.
I drive a lot. I build stuff, pull things, push things, and I hit things. And then I carry stuff.
What do you do again?
I drive a Hilux.
Australia's #1 selling vehicle, 4 years running. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Did you know that a healthy diet and exercise are key to managing osteoarthritis? But on days where pain gets in the way, find relief with Nurofen from Terry White Chemmart. Nurofen helps reduce inflammation, relieving osteoarthritis flare-up pain for up to 8 hours. Right now at Terry White Chemmart, Nurofen 96 caplets and tablets are just $13.99 each. Nurofen and Terry White Chemmart. Now that's real chemistry.
Which delicious new Arnott's Cracker Chips flavour will you try first? Hickory ribs with sticky glaze or mozzarella and basil bruschetta? Arnott's Cracker Chips, oven roasted, never fried.
Can care be better at home?
Someone from Medibank mentioned that there's a chance I can do rehab at home.
I said, oh, how much extra is that going to cost?
And they said, no, you've got it in your hospital cover. It just was fantastic for me.
Over the years, we have had some pretty amazing desserts, but none of them have been quite as unusual as the dessert that you're about to taste.
The MasterChef kitchen has never seen a dessert quite like this.
The main ingredient is actually...
What's inside?
What?
Will blow your mind.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Pretty amazing, huh?
The strangest ever dessert challenge, tonight on 10.
The federal government will invest another $66 million in the creation of a virus vaccine. The money will fund multiple research projects across the country.
Our laboratories have never been busier. Across the world, 6.2 million people have been diagnosed with COVID-19 and more than 370,000 have died. And Australia is well placed to find the solution.
Australia hasn't just been at the global forefront in containment and flattening the curve, but we are also blessed with leading researchers and institutions.
The federal government is giving another $66 million to our researchers who are trying to find treatments and ultimately a vaccine.
I think of the way we treat COVID-19 as the way we have tackled cancer over the last 40 years. We know that one approach isn't going to work.
The Walter and Eliza Hall Institute is already using health workers to test whether the anti-malaria drug hydroxychloroquine could guard them from COVID-19. Candice Wyatt for 10 News First.
There's plenty of excitement building as Queensland's Sea Life Aquarium gets set to reopen. The penguins appear extremely keen for some outside company. The centre was given the go-ahead to welcome back visitors following the early easing of restrictions. Well, good into the fact being out of contract is no big deal for Rory Atkins.
Yeah, you wouldn't have thought he'd be a bit stressed, Beck, but not the case. COVID-19 has meant no new extensions for now, and for the Adelaide midfielder, it's allowed him to concentrate on his football and growing as a leader at the club.
The Crows still have to wait 11 days before they tackle rivals instead of teammates. Today's session was full of contact, with Tom Duday and Ben Davis needing medical attention after clashing heads. One thing not playing on the mind of Rory Atkins is the pressure of playing in front of a parochial power crowd.
It is a bit comforting not hearing 50,000 people call me shit when I miss a kick. So.
Another thing he hasn't had to think about is a new contract, with the pandemic putting a pause on negotiations.
The league's never been in this position before, so if it was a normal season, I know that a contract could be done, but now it can't. So you know that the only possible thing that you can do to better yourself is play footy.
Former Crow Sean McKernan is ready to spearhead the Bombers' attack after a COVID scare saw him miss round one.
I got tested twice in that stage, so it was a little bit scary and thought I might have had it, but they ended up figuring out it was pneumonia.
He'll have plenty of work to do with Joe Danaher and Orazio Fantasia out injured.
Obviously, Joe's been in and out for the last couple of years, and at times I've had to take on that role, but it's something that I welcome and something that I get excited by.
Essendon faces Sydney, who will be without Buddy Franklin and Sam Reid. Isaac Heaney is expected to pick up the slack after his 4-goal haul back in round one.
She showed in round one how damaging and he can be down there, and how hard a matchup he is. So I think no doubt he'll probably spend a bit more time forward.
Brendan Shakes for 10 News First.
St Kilda's Bradley Hill says he respects Hawk Chad Wingard's self-imposed media ban, but won't follow the same path. Looking ahead to the Saints match against the Bulldogs, he admits they need to better control the ball.
There's got to be times in games where we probably don't want to be going too fast and playing with a bit more gears and slowing it down, when probably that's something we probably should have done against North Melbourne, where we probably were playing too quick and just taking the game on a bit too much.
Hill will take on the big freeze for the Saints, despite today revealing he's allergic to the cold. Adelaide United assistant Carl Viet will take over as interim coach for the rest of the A-League season. 10 News First understands the Reds will wait until the completion of the current season before naming a full-time coach for the next campaign.
He's got a lot of experience. He knows, the way he wants to play, and it's exciting for the club and for himself to, be given that opportunity.
The Reds are hopeful of returning to training on June 15 before heading to an East Coast hub next month. This Supercars season will be the last one you'll see Jamie Whincup and Shane van Gisbergen driving a Holden for Red Bull. The manufacturer and 888 Racing have agreed to terminate their contract a year earlier than expected. The settlement follows General Motors axing the Holden brand days before the season started. The Supercars Championship resumes in Sydney on June 27. End of an era for racing, Beck. What about Bradley Hill? Allergic to the cold and he's going to do the big freeze. That's cruel. What do they call that? Exposure therapy. Maybe we'll get over it.
Thank you. Talking about the cold, Kate Freeman will have your 7-day forecast coming up next.
supply of groceries thanks to Coles? Then grab tonight's code word and head to the 10play win page to enter, and you could be a winner. Plus, be watching MasterChef 7:30 tonight for the bonus code word to double your chances.
I suddenly realized we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
We're all in this together.
With Belong, you get 10 gigs of mobile data for $25 a month. That's 10 gigs of family time, plus unlimited international calls and texts to selected countries for $5 extra. Together, we're different. Belong.
Health Partners is 100% not-for-profit, and now more than ever, we're doing everything we can to look after our members, like reducing premiums on hospital and extras for both new and existing members. Save with Health Partners. Health insurance done right.
It was a Skype call back home. Nani just came out with it. Where is your beautiful hair gone?
Thanks, Nani.
Reached your turning point? The doctors at Ashley and Martin could help regrow your hair.
You wash loads, but do you ever wash your washing machine? Every load leaves behind grime and, what's that smell? Pino Clean Washing Machine Cleaner removes 99.9% of germs, leaving it clean and fresh for longer. It's not clean unless it's Pino Clean.
With an endless supply of natural gas, you'll never have to stop doing what you love. Like staying in the bath for a never-endingly long time.
It's tax time madness at JB Hi-Fi with $50 off this Dyson V7 cord-free. Take a whopping $450 off this Garmin Fenix 5X running watch and $100 off these Jabra headphones. Stores open till late tomorrow. JB, you've done it again.
Right now, businesses are doing whatever they can to take care of their business and their staff, and that's why many are choosing to expand online. But taking your business online can be tricky, and that's where CommBank e-commerce solutions come in.
CommBank helped me sell my products online securely so people can enjoy my restaurants in their living rooms.
We're here to help businesses get up and running online so they can stay up and running.
And we can, together.
We're ready to get back out there again. As we do, it's up to all of us to stay COVID safe. Anytime you leave your house, wash your hands regularly. Keep physical distance where you can. Have the COVID Safe app on your phone. And importantly, if you're feeling sick, you need to stay at home and get tested. Together, we can reduce the risk of a second wave. Stay COVID-free and do the 3.
Authorised by the Chief Medical Officer, Canberra.
Up next, angry protests overseas ignite local Black Lives Matter movements as we shine a light on deaths in custody in our own backyard. From calls to reopen the Uluru Climb to the destruction of sacred sites, are we going backwards in our respect for Indigenous culture? And the inspiring speeches that united our country, why we need them now more than ever. The project next.
A 100-metre-long superload began its journey from Melbourne's docks overnight, with crews moving ahead to clear the way as it went. The impressive electrical component is destined for a power station. Weighing more than 640 tonnes, the giant load needed a gang of trucks to move it. Travelling at 20 kilometres an hour, it will take until Wednesday to reach its destination. Another Adelaide landmark is preparing to reopen its doors. Kate Freeman, you're having a night at the museum.
Yeah, Beck, if you're looking for things to do over the long weekend, you can follow our lead and visit the South Australian Museum, although you won't have the place to yourself. It's reopening its doors on Monday morning after being closed for the last 2 months, and a museum's always a really quiet place, but I can tell you, being the only ones inside, it's been especially eerie. You might be heading away for the long weekend somewhere else in South Australia. Tonight's weather photo was taken on the lovely limestone coast, looking down at Long Beach. There aren't many places you can park your car right on the sand and have the place all to yourself, so that's really nice. Overnight in Adelaide, our low was 11 degrees and today our top was 17 with a few light showers this morning. This afternoon was dry but cloudy. Right now, 12 degrees here in the city. On the satellite photo, most of the cloud again is through the south of the state, and that brought a few showers today. A high is moving in, and that's clearing skies, keeping South Australia mostly dry, but it will also see overnight temperatures plummet. Many spots will go below zero overnight in the coming days. Around the country tomorrow, sunny in Brisbane, mostly sunny in Sydney, becoming windy, with possible showers for Melbourne and another cold top of 14 degrees. In South Australia tomorrow should be mostly dry, heading for 17 degrees in Whyalla and Port Pirie, 15 in Maitland and 14 degrees in the Clare Valley. It should get to 16 degrees in Port Lincoln and Victor, a top of 15 degrees in Narracourt, Renmark and Mount Gambier, but the coldest place is the Barossa, just 13 degrees in Norayotpa. On local waters, southwesterly winds will turn southeasterly by mid-morning, with seas easing below half a metre around midday. In the suburbs, 16 degrees for Elizabeth and Murray Bridge and 13 the top in Mount Barker. In Adelaide, it will drop to 10 degrees overnight, and then tomorrow there's the chance of an early morning shower, but the day will be dry and partly cloudy with a top of 16. Looking ahead, staying mostly dry over the next week, with sunshine on Thursday and Friday and tops of 15, partly cloudy and 16 degrees on Saturday, 15 on Sunday, and then it's back up to 16 degrees for the public holiday on Monday. So Beck, looking pretty good, cold but dry over the long weekend.
Thank you, Kate. Enjoy your evening. Good night.
Tonight, America alight. Protests, a pandemic and economic collapse expose a country